welcome to Trading the Close on this hump day. It is Wednesday. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing. And here's what's making headlines today, keeping it the same. Fed policymakers have decided to leave rates unchanged and say no cuts will be coming until it is clear inflation is receding. Nvidia will be reporting earnings after the closing bell today, maybe around 4:20, and it could have a significant impact on the market. Also, Rivian and Etsy will report earnings as well. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos sells 50 million Amazon shares for around $8 billion. The Biden administration will forgive student loans for more than 150,000 borrowers. And Apple is releasing a free new sports app for the iPhone, tracking scores and providing content and news. Well, stocks started the day off down, so let's take a look and see where things stand right now. Just before the closing bell, we've got the Dow actually up right now 11 points, 0.02%. NASDAQ is down 89 points, up 0.58%. And the S&P 500 is actually up 8 points, 0.15%. We've got oil slightly up, gold slightly up, and then Bitcoin down $1,389. Feels like it's been such a long time. We've got my special guest today, Chief Market Strategist Gareth Soloway. There's so much to talk about, my friend. So great to have you back on. First of all, what do you make of the Fed minutes? I'm guessing that you're not surprised at all by what was said.
Yeah, I mean, after the CPI last week, the PPI data, all of this was pointing towards this inflation that's probably going to get sticky around 3%. So I think the Fed, even though, believe it or not, that CPI, PPI data wasn't even out before these minutes were taken at the last meeting, this just goes to reinforce the 2 to 3 cuts second half of the year that the Fed has been stressing to the markets that the market hasn't wanted to believe, right? So I think the markets are finally coming to terms with it. But as we can see here on the NASDAQ 100, look at this late day rally. And this is, to me, this is classic NVIDIA price action, right? So you're looking at a market where going into the end of the day, you're getting this short covering rally just in case NVIDIA has that monster pop that it is notorious for. And again, big move back up, closing the gap. We're not back to unchanged on the day. That would have to be here. But we certainly, you can see the rest of the day, sideways down. This was the Fed minutes down kind of, and then rally right back up. So this is going to be fun, guys. I mean, NVIDIA earnings are wild. It's like the drinking party that everyone wants to have.
Well, I know there's a lot of people watching this because it could have a very big impact on the market. So explain exactly why that is, because all eyes right now on NVIDIA.
Yeah, so the kicker to NVIDIA is that it's the bull case or it's the bear case. This is the deciding factor. This is round 10 of the fight for the markets. You basically have a scenario where the bulls are going to say, oh, this is the AI-driven market. Everything's good. It's going to push the market back to new all-time highs. The bears are saying this is a rally that has been thinning out. Only a few stocks have been leading it. And if AI is lost, if NVIDIA doesn't come out blockbuster earnings with guidance that matches, then the whole entire market will crumble here because the rest of the market hasn't been along for the ride. If you look at the Russell, no new all-time highs there. 10 of 11 sectors in the S&P, no new all-time highs. It's been technology, mainly NVIDIA. And so that's what it is. It all comes down to this, whether or not we continue this rally or not.
Yeah, a lot weighing on this. So I'd love for you to bring up the NVIDIA chart. Yep. They're one of course, the big market movers today. Palo Alto, Amazon, Solar Edge, Toll, Garmin, just a few of the big market movers. But I know even before this show started, you were watching NVIDIA like many people. And we're seeing a rally right now.
Yeah, and so this is the kicker, right?
Or is it already changed?
No. So we're still down on the day. NVIDIA was still down on the day today, and it looks like it will end down. This is the weekly chart, though. So the kicker here is that from the highs of just a week ago to the lows this week, NVIDIA already dropped 11%. So it already lowered the crazy expectations just a little bit. Now they still have to beat earnings, and they still have to come out and do amazing on guidance. But at least it's not trading at all-time highs anymore, and it has had a corrective move, which gives the company a little bit of breathing room. Now, in the scheme of things, it's still overbought, right? You look at this channel here, massive channel. At some point, you have to correct, but it would not shock me if it bounced initially back up to retest these recent highs around 730, 740 before coming back down. The other side of the coin, too, is that you know that this is a bubble, right? This is an AI bubble. At some point, it comes down. It just doesn't. No one knows if it's going to be be on this earnings or if it's going to be later on when there's more competition out there. So I mean, this is going to be fun. Like I said, it creates this scenario.
If you play it right, it's fun, right?
Right. That is very valid. And I just want to show something here. One of the biggest concerns I have is that this is the NASDAQ 100 chart, right? We have now broken this long-term trend line. And so even if we get a bounce on NVIDIA earnings, which should be out in about 20 minutes or so, the issue is this, is that if we can't recapture this area right in here and get back above, then this is a technical breakdown. And again, I just want to show this. This is going back to October lows of 2023, right through here, and right through here, and look at the breakdown. So NVIDIA, to me, is the last chance for this market to save itself. Basically, if we can get a bounce on NVIDIA surge, maybe the markets can recapture here and maybe even break out. If not, this market is in breakdown territory. And the same thing actually goes for the S&P 500. You have the same exact chart scenario. That's your intraday. Look at that intraday surge at the end of the day on the spiders. But here you have just the beginnings of a potential breakdown. Same general channel. We have these lines here. Can NVIDIA push this back in and save the day, or do we see it roll over and come to the downside? So again, you know, it's crazy, but it's one of those scenarios where as a trader, you don't necessarily know the ultimate outcome today. But for me, the confidence is that I've seen these type of bubbles. You know, you had the marijuana bubble, you had the solar bubble back, you had the .com bubble. We ultimately know how it ends. You just don't know this interim period here.
The exact timing. Let's talk about that, because I know you kind of see what's coming. You mention this all the time, but not everybody is seeing the economy the same way right now. Right. What is the discrepancy? And also I want to mention, I've said earlier, Jeff Bezos selling tons of shares, Mark Zuckerberg, yeah. Netflix's CEO, different politicians. Are they seeing something? Are they seeing signs? What's happening here?
Yeah, and that's a good question. To be honest, I would assume they are. In fact, SolarEdge reported earnings. They're laying off 16%. You know, we've talked over and over again about all these layoffs coming out. Mm-hmm. And then you throw into the mix Zuckerberg, Bezos unloading billions of dollars. Not just hundreds of millions or millions, but billions of dollars in stock. And investors probably should take note here. The other side, too, is that, you know, if you look at Google searches for soft landing, they're basically at levels not seen since 2007 before the Great Recession. And again, you use that as a contrarian indicator. So when we were in 2022 at the lows, before the massive rally from the lows of 2022, recession was the highest we had seen searches on, meaning it's essentially people expecting something and then the opposite happens. So little things like that pop out to me when you start to see searches for soft landing being everywhere out there at multi-decade highs here. So I do think it's something people have to be aware of. The question is how much longer. To me, it reminds me of musical chairs, right? The music will stop at some point.
Yeah.
We can't avoid recessions forever. The question is the music going to stop today with NVIDIA?
All right, can we take a look at natural gas? I know that's something that you always keep an eye on, and it's been enjoying a big bounce. Is it still up at this time?
Yeah, natural gas has had a phenomenal rally just the last couple days here. So again, just looking at this, you had these two trend lines coming down here, and the rally today has been phenomenal. Just to give people general targets on where you would expect it to go, this little flat area right here, that's going to be first resistance, which is basically at $2 on nat gas on this trading view chart. And if it gets through that, you have this low pivot right in here, which is around $2.25. So again, I honestly don't know how high we can go. A lot of people have these lofty targets. I keep it very short term, and then I see, can it get through this first one? If it does, okay, now 220 to 225 is your next target. But right now, I mean, this has been an amazing, just a quick bounce. And they always say, if you have high oil or natural gas prices or low, the best remedy for high energy prices is high energy prices, right? And the thought process there is that when you have high energy prices, every producer wants to produce more because they get so much money for a barrel of oil. And the more supply that comes on the market, then price falls, right? Same thing at the lows down here. I think the news that kickstarted this rally was Chesapeake saying, hey, we're gonna stop producing some natural gas. And so the remedy for low prices is low prices, meaning that people stop producing and it forces price back up. So it is interesting in that way, but that's exactly what's happening here.
Well, before we go, I do want to see if we can touch on Bitcoin. And I want to ask you, too, I know we are waiting for NVIDIA's earnings that will be released today, Rivian and Etsy as well. But NVIDIA is where all eyes are focused because, of course, it could impact the entire market. Does this include crypto and Bitcoin?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, NVIDIA is the classic risk-on, risk-off signal for the market. So I do think if NVIDIA dumps out, you'll see crypto come in. In fact, just in the last couple days, a lot of the altcoins, not so much Ethereum. Ethereum is kind of in a league of its own for altcoins, but a lot of the other altcoins have been starting to sell off pretty sharply. And I think that's exactly what's happening. We've seen a lot of the big cap tech selling off. It's been a risk-off environment, including with NVIDIA dumping out, and that's causing these altcoins to come down. So again, just to look here, by the way, this is NVIDIA's chart, still no earnings. You can see this is the end of day rally, and you're seeing a little additional pop, but trust me, that's not, you're basically going to see a line, up here or way down here when earnings come out. It'll be massive. But let's quickly just touch on Bitcoin and see what we have going on here. If we flip back to the daily chart, so again, the kickers here are very simple in terms of the technicals. You have a little down day here. If we see a dump on NVIDIA, my guess is we'll go back and touch this 49,000 level, which was that previous high here on the spot ETF approval. That's the line. If you're a bull, you need to hold that line. Because if this was technically a breakout and it went to resistance, then you got this bull flag here, which again, right now could be failing. But essentially, if you break back below this, it becomes a failed breakout. And anytime you have a failed breakout or breakdown, the move in the opposite direction is usually enormous, meaning that if you broke back below 49, you would probably go to at least 42 at that point. So again, as a technician, you want to just follow 49, and then really this trend line right here. Those are your 2 points of interest here on the chart. And right now we'll see again how that impact from NVIDIA is in just probably about 10 minutes from now or so.
Exactly. We're going to see that immediately today. What are you looking for ahead tomorrow?
Well, we have jobless claims tomorrow, so I guess for me, jobless claims, it's a second seat to NVIDIA, obviously. That will be the driver tomorrow. But jobless claims for me, they've been staying in that low 200,000 range, between 200,000 and 220. Do we start to see an uptick? Because last week we saw retail sales coming in weak. It looks like the consumer's starting to struggle. We saw the CPI, PPI numbers, and I think that's really the caveat of why the markets have started to break down is because things don't look so rosy anymore. It doesn't look like this perfect landing anymore. And if we see tomorrow jobless claims starting to spike, then it's just, you're adding that next level to, okay, we have an economy that is definitely slowing down. And can the Fed really cut rates dramatically if inflation is still 3-ish% and maybe even upticking? And the answer is no, they can't do it as dramatically as the market wants.
When do you think that cut will come?
My guess is probably early second half, like June, late June, July.
Okay.
That one of those meetings, I think they'll throw a bone. My guess is because the markets start to sell off dramatically. But I do want to point this out, is that people that were calling for rate cuts early this year, with the market hitting all-time highs, with, like the amount of inflation, when you see your 401k and you have NVIDIA in your portfolio, and you're like, holy cow, I'm up like an extra 100K. And what do you want to do? You want to take some of that money and go spend it. It's inflationary. So it's really, you can't, until you get a market correction, you're not going to see that pressure on the economy that's going to really drive us to a point where the Fed can probably cut dramatically.
Okay, one more question, I promise, because I can
that's
talk to you for hours.
Let's do it.
Do you do any long-term investing? And if you don't, is it because you feel so much more comfortable working the market by day, because you know how volatile it can be?
It's so hard for me to do long-term investing. My brain has been triggered or conditioned to be short-term. I will say this, for me, so I have this tiny hodl position in Bitcoin at 1/6 position that I bought at 17,000 and change. And again, I had told people every 3,000 down I would add to that. Never got lower than 15, so I never got to add. So I do have that, and I've just tucked that away. And then gold. Gold is my only other one. And for me, it's buying some physical, because physical is a lot harder to sell, right? So if for me, it has to be a hindrance. Because if I can just go click a couple buttons and sell it, well, it's then when it's up at a certain level at resistance, and I'm like, oh, it's going to pull back. Well, why don't I sell it and then rebuy it, right? So for me, it's the physical makes it so it's like, okay, now this is a chore to actually go sell it. So tuck it away and leave it be. Other than that, I'm a swing trader.
Got to do what works for you.
That's right.
Gareth, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
Remember, you can watch Gareth navigate the charts every weekday morning just before the opening bell. That's at 9 a.m. right here on the Verified Investing YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching on this Wednesday. We are back tomorrow. Make it a great rest of the day.